Hello, welcome to A Lot of Help with James Lott Jr. I am James Lott Jr., and I'm a certified life coach, among other things. And I love bringing you topics that I think are here to help you with your health and wellness. And this is like, we're talking physical health, mental health, all of that. And my guest, I love music, as many of my fans know this. I'm a musician myself, and I think music is there to heal. But like, have you ever thought about actually really having music to heal? Music as medicine, sound therapy, all those kind of things. Well, this person is a singer, musician herself, and she has an app called the Source app. And she's also an author of the book Sacred Vibrations, the Transformative Power of Crystalline Sound and Music. We're going to get into it. I'm excited to talk to her, Miss Jeralyn Glass. How you doing, Jeralyn?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to a fellow musician.
Yes. Well, I want to start out the whole conversation with I say this on a lot of my shows, actually, at the end to support the arts. And one of the arts, of course, is music. And that could be from voice to instrument. And it has been, I want to get your opinion on this too. It has been proven that music helps in many other areas in life, including it's helped with other arts, it's helped with sciences, it's helped with English and math, it's helped in many areas that music and the arts are good at that. But also, it's just good in life. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit, Geraldine, that how music in general is a great thing for us, isn't it?
It is amazing, James. And like in every culture since the beginning of time, music accompanies our most important experiences, whether it's birth or um, graduations, wedding celebrations, anniversaries, even passings. Music is something that we use to hold and express our feelings. Music is it's something that I've come to learn more and more. Music has the ability to suddenly quiet the thinking mind. And then before you know it, you've dropped in, you're in your heart. You might be crying, you might be laughing, you might just want to move your body because the music feels so great. So music has a way of really activating our hearts.
Yeah, it does. And the thing about music, it's funny you mentioned about how milestones. Music's one of the few things too that could take us back to a feeling. But there's
Yes.
other in entertainment parts can do it too. But music, a note, a certain lyric, a certain sound will honestly take you back to a good or a bad feeling, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it does. Certain songs will remind us of certain moments in our lives, and music is really there, I think, to bring joy, to help us really express feelings. It does so many things on so many levels.
Well, I come from Native American culture. I come from Black culture. I come from many different cultures where you just said music has always been a part in our lives, also in healing. Especially very much in healing. Um, when did you? When did that come into your orbit? That music was more than just I'm singing. I think that was something more holistic.
Gosh, I think so many things popped into my mind when you were talking just a
I love
moment
that.
too.
Please express them
I
all. Express them all, Jeremy. Let's express them all.
I was so. First of all, I remember distinctly being 3 or 4 years old. It was just a young child, and I was outside on our driveway, and there was a post, and I remember holding onto the post and twirling around, spinning, and just like losing myself in sound and making singing, as children do. And I remember feeling and hearing a voice that was bigger than me that then called God, but that said, singing is going to be your life. There was so much joy in the actual movement and la la la, whatever it was that I was doing. There was so much joy and freedom in that. And so I knew at a young age somehow that was going to be my path. When I was 11, I sang a solo in my middle school choir, and people said to my parents, "Well, what are you going to do? She's talented." And so they took me to a neighbor who her name is Annette Smith. At this, when we're talking now, she's 101 years old, and she sang the voice of Ava Gardner in the movie Showboat. And her husband,
Wow.
yeah, she was a very accomplished singer. Her husband, Paul Smith, was just a beloved jazz pianist. He used to accompany Ella Fitzgerald, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra. So I was at 11. I was put into this family of the Smith family that were just musicians to their core, and was exposed to all kinds of music from classical Vaccai. These are like early Italian mini songs to do exercises to teach you legato and different ways to phrase. And then German lieder, and then Broadway songs, and then the great jazz standards. And, Paul Smith would accompany me as an 11-year-old. And it was like my parents were blown away. I had no idea what that meant. But,
Right, right.
so yeah, I think I knew then that music was beyond just being a singer, whatever that meant. Music was something that connected me spiritually. As a young person, there was God when I was opening my mouth or when I was listening to music. There was such beauty, things that I've come now to say. It takes us into this place of the ineffable. We can't put words to where we go when we hear music or when we're performing music. You said that you love the drums and you play the drums. Like when you're in it and you're in a certain rhythm and you're doing it, you are that music.
Yes. And I have an uncle, my Uncle Harold, who for years has made drums from trees. And has been part of drum circles over the years. He's very famous here in South LA, where I live. He's a legend. And I remember growing up watching him make the drums and put them together, and how each tree has a different sound to it, right? And it's different, and the way you string the drum up and how it sounds different when you hit it. But I always felt with him too, and with his circles, it was definitely they're trying to exorcise certain things and trying to bring in certain things. I think it's like this when I was maybe probably a teenager, when I first realized, I think, oh, this is more than just you turn on the radio, listen to a song. Is that these things can really affect lives. They can change lives, right? And kind of like that, right? It's bigger. It's bigger than us.
Is bigger than us. And just like what you were saying, like different trees, and when you think about all kinds of different instruments and you think about the human voice, each one of us has a unique vibrational signature. Each one of us has our own unique timbre. Each instrument, whether it's a Steinway piano or as you were talking about drums, is made of different kind of woods. And there's, if you want to go there, it has a different energy. And so I've learned over the years, especially being a singer, that my job or one of my responsibilities is to keep myself tuned. When something upsets me or when I'm frustrated or when I feel disappointed or judgmental or whatever it is, I need to tune myself. How do I do that? What is it when we think about ourselves as being this human instrument and then we might be playing another instrument? It's so important that we are in a state of harmony ourselves. And
Yeah.
I think that's as we all know now, especially in today's world, that's an everyday task,
Yes.
you
Well, you
know?
also know as a performer, and we choose performers, every place has its own energy. When you go to a place where there's an instrument or singing or speaking, even, everybody talks about acoustics. So all the non-musicians out there, they think about acoustics and how you're like, so you'll hear somebody go, wow, the acoustics are good here. I'm like, you're like, what does that mean? Well, as you know, and as you know, Jeralyn, it just means that they're the way shapes. I performed a wedding inside of a tree. It was a trip in Northern California. My friends got married, and it was inside this giant. They made this like area inside of a giant tree in Northern California into an area you could get married or whatever things in there. It was small, but it was a trip because I was officiating the wedding, and it was very interesting to hear my voice in that tree. It was very different than when I performed ceremonies outside in the air or at an actual huge hall somewhere. I you can tell, right? You can just tell it's like there's different things that affect your voice also.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine in the tree you have, it must have been a very, very old tree, and you have just the energy of a living thing with roots, and then you have the acoustic as you were talking about, because the acoustic is made by what's the space like, and when we go to fantastic concert halls or big arenas or a tree like that or in a church or whatever it is, you're right, each place has its own unique acoustic that then amplifies and carries your music, your voice or your instrument, and then of course it's an interplay with who's there in the space with you, and then there's an interplay with your own intention as you're amplifying your music. What is my intention that I'm sending out into the world? Because again, music is so powerful that it's important that we have a, a positive intention, I think, when we're playing music.
And I think most of us are who do music. Our intent is to entertain or whatever, bring smiles to people's faces. I think most of us that's what we do, right? We're out here to share our gift or share our present to you, the people listening, right? That's mostly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important that young people get supported in, again, moving their bodies, being rhythmic, dancing, expressing through sound, using, humming, making sounds. I think that's so important. That's a natural part of who we are as a human being. Again, this vibrating instrument that, each of us has our own unique expression.
I've interviewed many people later in life in their lives that have been doing either dancing, singing, whatever for a long time. And almost all of them have said almost something you just said. They said in various forms in the interviews, they remember the child in them. That's why they can still dance, sing, act, whatever. They all mention it. They've all come into like some form. I one of the dancers like Tony Basil, for instance, she's like still dancing. She's 70 some years old, and she was like, "Well, I remember the young girl who loved dancing." And obviously you have to practice and do whatever you're doing, but how you can have the longevity is almost going back to that child, that energy of a child or that thought of a child. And many different people I've talked to are like, remember the child in you, and that kind of as you continue to practice and all the stuff that it keeps with you. What are your thoughts on that? 'Cause you said something about kids. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's such a great question because I feel like joy is a great part of being a child. Children play for the most part innocently and they explore and they have curiosity, and we haven't yet, for the most part, been shut down that we lose that. And I think that joy is such an important part of vibrancy in our lives. You know, joy is a very important component of healing. And you say, okay, well, Jeralyn, how's that work? But it's like if I'm in grief or if I'm depressed or if I'm, you know, in physical pain and I can find that spark of joy, boom, that's going to ignite the power of myself, that within myself, that I can heal, that I can transform. And that's related to this finding always this innocence of your childlike nature. It's pure, it's wonder, it's bubbliness, it's enthusiasm, it's all those things that in the essence of music that's contained in it, even if it's a very serious and sad piece of music. That essence of joy, I think, is it's the spark of creation, and it's such an important element that sometimes we forget. And when we're down, how do we find that? How do we find that joy and innocence, that childlike wonder that
Yeah.
just plays and is spontaneous?
Yeah, I've written songs that were sad, but I'll tell you the joy in them is when it's finished and it clicks and you're like, that's the message I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I tell my some people at home, she's right. You can find, I got to sneeze, I think. Oh my goodness. Um, okay. Yeah, all these things flying around out here. But oh my God, it wants to come out. Oh my God, come out, come out. No. But it's the joy is like I finished something. I got through it. I worked through it, and now it's for you to listen to it however you feel. There's joy in that. There is. I mean, even though it's a sad song I wrote, a sad subject. I wrote a song about my brother who passed away, and I put it on my last album. And it was I was crying through writing the song and recording and everything. But when it was done, then I had a smile on my face. I was kind of like, oh, I walked through this and I completed it and I finished it. And so I'm just saying, people at home who are watching this or wherever you are watching this or listening to this, you can find joy in sad situations. Sometimes there's a way. There's it can happen. Sure.
No, and I think I'm sorry about your brother,
Thank you.
and yeah, I don't know if you know that part of the reason my whole career and focus in music moved into this area of healing was the loss of my son.
Yeah.
So he was 19 and he loved music. He was a great guitar player and pianist, and he sang, and that was something, that was a language we really shared. Boy, and when you have loss in your life, again, whether it's the loss of a loved one or whether it's a job or an illness or a divorce or a change of job or whatever it is, change of where you live. How do we come through those things? And how do we come through those things gracefully? And like you just said, like you poured all your feelings into that song, and it was sad, and there was, I'm sure, a connection to your brother and a feeling of this is something that needs to be expressed. And then at the end, there comes a joy and a lightness of I actually could put those deep, dark feelings into words, into a melody, into music, so into a structure that could contain that so that other people can listen to it and feel sadness and then perhaps cry and then release. It's I think so much in our culture we just want to push those unpleasant things aside, or those things that are deep and we don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
And I think music gives us this container to hold us when we don't know what else to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about you that you lost your son. Now, just the impetus of all this. I was going to get into that a little bit. I don't know. You're a hero to me because I don't know how. I can't imagine losing my children or my grandchildren right now. I just can't imagine. I know it's part of life for some people. So you're brave to me for just going further and just going on anyway. I think that's just. I just want to make sure I say that on camera because I don't know how I don't know how I would do it. But it sounds to me that music was the thing that kind of, I mean, other things obviously too, but music was your main artery of connection. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, you know as well as I that to take any pill is not going to change the fact.
Right.
And when something's so painful like that, we want to just brush it aside or get through it somehow. But the only way to go through it is to go through it. You can't
Yes.
veer left or veer right. You have to stay grounded in, okay, this is what's happening in my life and this is real, and what am I going to do about it? And I think music really is that, it's that medium that allows us a space to feel everything we need to feel. And it still ends up holding us, and it doesn't judge us, and it loves us. And I think for me it's just been an incredible gift to then turn what I had been doing professionally since I'm 19 years old, to turn that into actual medicine for myself.
Yeah. And I want this one to talk about. So the Source app, talk about that.
Yeah.
Because again, you and I found ways to be creative. I know for some folks, it's a hard thing to do. So when they go do something serious, they're like, I don't know what to do. Or like, where's a serious illness or loss or whatever? Like, I mean, you and I have to be creative. So I think we're fortunate that divine intervention came in and said, Jeralyn, here's your purpose. Or James Lott Jr., here's your purpose. Like we got our purposes. Um, so what is exactly is the Source app so folks can know what you're talking
So I'm going to back up just a step. That
about?
on the night my son died, he started to communicate to me. So I live in Los Angeles also, and I
Oh,
mean, the city is super bright, and I walked down to the beach with a dear dear friend who had known my son since he was a little boy. He was born in Germany, and my friend had been an actor in Germany, and we walked down the beach and we saw this huge shooting star.
yeah.
So it began over the LA basin and seemed to land in the mountains,
Oh,
behind Los
wow.
Angeles. And I could hear a sound of just whoosh. And I heard my son's voice, Mom, Mom, it's like we always talked about. I'm home, I'm with God. And I just went, wait, wait, wait. First of all, I never saw a shooting star in the city, up in the mountains, but there it
Yeah,
was,
same
and
here.
it
I've never
had
seen
a,
it. I've never seen it in the city either. Yeah.
I know, and it had a sound, and then I heard his voice. And then my mind was going, well, wait a minute. He died today. How can he be talking to Wait, none of this makes sense, Gerald. But the friend that was with me saw the shooting star and heard Dylan's voice too. My son's name is Dylan, born of the
Oh,
sea. And that began this, I'm going to just name it, this miraculous communication through sound vibration and through signs, etc. And if we look at quantum science and we say everything is energy and we are made of energy, we're made of compressed sound, or in the beginning was the word and the word was God. I mean, there's so much in our universe that tells us that sound vibration is at the core of everything, right? And there was this communication, and it took me months to begin to process A, that he had passed away, and then B, that there was a communication, like he wasn't gone. And what I began to realize was when I was deep in grief and just like wailing, and I couldn't hear him. But when I began to sort of accept, okay, Jeralyn, you are not in this, your son is not in this physical world anymore. When I began to accept it and not wail against it, I could feel him and I could hear him. I mean, this has been a longer process. It's 9 years now,
I'm
but
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah, it's just we recognize that this life we're given is such a gift. And like all the things you're describing, I mean, just leading a wedding in a tree and just all the different things that we do in our lives, they're gifts, they're miracles, they're magic, and then we have to go through the other stuff that's tough, or guide our family through friends through things that are tough. But I just feel like I've been blessed now to know that we truly are eternal and that I am connected to my son. It is this language of sound and of music, and he guided me. He started communicating with me in many different ways, and one of the communications was, Mom, we're going to make an app. And I'm like, right, like, son, I got other things to do. No, Mom,
Right.
we're making
Exactly.
this
Right.
app.
Right.
And it's called Source, and it's he helped me to build this platform. That was the first thing he said, Mom, we're going to do an online series, and it's called The Sacred Science of Sound. And I started arguing with him. It was like, what do you mean the sacred science of sound? Shouldn't it be the science of sacred sound? And he's like, no, Mom. And he was 6'3". He was a football player in a ski race. He was a big kid in life, and he's just as big where he is now. But it was like, no, Mom. So we made this educational platform, The Sacred Science of Sound, and then all kinds of things, as it does in life when you're aligned with your purpose. Certain people came into my life, certain things began to open. Music was the bridge. And so the app is it's a joining of 20 different, what we called visualists, visionaries that are offering different things. So we have science, we have healing power of music. For example, Victor Wooten. Do you know Victor? Five-time Grammy Award-winning
Yeah.
bass player.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know
Victor's
him personally, but I know his name. I know who he is.
He's amazing. And so we did, I've been starting to play these crystal singing bowls that you see behind me. And so we did a mini meditation called Bowls and Bass. So, you've never heard bass played like that and then accompanied by singing bowls. We have a beautiful first spoken meditation by Janae Aiko that's also accompanied by
Never heard of
singing
him.
bowls. Right. And then scientists like Dr. Daniel Levitin, who wrote This Is Your Brain on Music, worked with Sting very closely, examining Sting's brain. So he's teaching us on the app about what's the science of sound, how does music relate to your brain. So there's 20 visualizers and all different topics around what's the science of sound, what's the theory of music, how do you experience singing bowls, how do you experience a beautiful song with a guitar, and how do all these things come together, and what does it mean for you and me? Like, how does this diverse, there's a child on it that leads a beautiful children's meditation, and then some lullabies for children to fall asleep to. So it's like, how do all of us connect? Why are all of us, 20 of us people, collaborating? And what does it mean for you and me? What brings healing? What brings transformation in our lives? And I've come to understand it definitely is collaboration. And whether I'm collaborating with my son who's in spirit form, collaborating with you right now and having this beautiful conversation, like, that's what makes the music. That's what makes us dance. That's what makes us feel good, is how you bring your strengths, I bring my strengths, and then hopefully they serve something that's a much bigger picture for all of humanity.
Yeah. There's two things I want to say. One is there's a thought in the entertainment business that we will all be identified by a sound. So it's leading that direction. So everything you're saying, I'm going, you're right on target. Because apparently, so folks at home, there's certain TV shows, at the end of the show, there'll be a sound. Used to be a saying like City we said good dog, back in the 80s or whatever. Now it's a still here. CBS has like they have these sound, like every entertainment thing is saying at some point we'll be identified just by our sound. So that's very interesting you say that. Number two, the first Deepak Chopra put out an album, back in the turn of the century. I would say turn of the century, 2000s, whatever. I feel old, but 2000s. That was Poems of the Rumi, but they were set to dance music. Madonna's on there, but Demi Moore had a song called "Do You Love Me," which it's a great poem from. It's a great by itself. It's great. Set to house music, and that woke me up one day. And the first song I've ever released out to the public, song called "I Am Ready." I had heard this music, and I'm a spoken word artist, and so and one of my producers was like, "You should just put in some music, like take one of your poems and put some music." And I'm like, I had nothing at the time that was worth it, but I heard this song, and I thought the lyric, "I am ready for success. For success, I am ready." That's what came to my mind first. And in 20 minutes, divine intervention, I wrote my first song. We set it to dance music, to actually kind of disco music, and it was a huge hit for me. Actually, it's out there. You can listen to it. It's great. Um, but that's when I realized people would say, "James, that song is motivating me." What you wrote in there is say, I wrote lyrics like, "That's what the universe what I wanted," and the universe replied. And this whole thing, but it was all truths for me. It was all my truths that I put into a song. That's the first time I really realized also you can do that. So I saw some of the names that you're talking about, Janae Icon. I mean, these people, we know who they are. The fact that they're joined you in this quest using music and meditations, and I know it works. It manifests. It works. I can tell people at home. I haven't gone to her app yet, but I can tell you for a fact, I know what she's talking about is the not the future, it's the now. It's where we are, right? Right, Miss Jeralyn?
It's the now. I feel like, I mean, you're on it. It just feels like if we don't collaborate, and if we don't collaborate in the spirit of childlike joy, as we were talking about earlier, and wonder and innocence and love, we need this. We really need this is a medicine right now for our culture.
It is.
And it's really fun. I mean, then we have scientist John Stewart Reed who created something called the CymaScope. So you actually there's different sound baths and different themes on the app too, and you can see actually what does the sound bowl, what shape does it make? The CymaScope is a machine he invented. He's from England, and you see the actual shapes of the sound bowls that look like snowflakes. Each of them are perfect sacred geometry. So for those who are interested in just listening to beautiful music, listening to meditation, deep relaxation, or those who are interested in knowing, well, let me know some of the science that's behind that. What does that mean? Right? And then there's Jonathan and Andy Goldman, who are pioneers in the field of sound healing. Um, so there's just, I feel so blessed, to call these people my friends and to be aligned together in a bigger vision of how can we come back to source? That's the name of the app, and the source being sound vibration.
It's everything you're saying. It just matches. I mean, so I'm a coach in several areas, and one of the first things we learned in coaching school was getting back to they call it center. Getting back
Yes.
to center. So isn't that what we're always trying to do anyway in terms of for health, wellness, is somehow getting back to that source or center. That's what you guys do with your music, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what I said at the beginning. Like when we recognize, okay, we are this human instrument, we're vibrating strings, right? Or we're quartz-like in structure in comparison to the quartz singing bowls. We have quartz-like structure in our bones and in our bloods, like in our blood. Like when I said like tuning, it's just what you said. If we tune ourselves, we are centered, we're grounded, we're balanced, and I think that's a challenge every day. It definitely is to
Now
find that.
I have
Yeah.
to bring something up though, because people, there's always the other side. You're not, I don't, I want to make it clear for you. I don't think you're not advocating for actual medicine, but I would like, but this is more of like, this is, I think I believe in Eastern medicine and holistic. I believe in all stuff. And I grew up with, home remedies that do work, folks, do work. But you're just advocating for also healthier ways to live and handle things. I mean, kind of, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of choices out there, which we all know, and there's a lot of ways to avoid, there's just a lot of ways to avoid feelings that are big or repetitive thoughts that say we're not good enough, we don't deserve, da 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 da, right?
Right.
There's a lot of ways to deal with that. But I feel like for each of us, a deeper purpose is to come home to the truth of who you are. James, why were you put on this planet at this time? Jeralyn, why were you put here at this time? What are the things that you have to work through in your lifetime, and what are the things that you're here to give? And every one of us has that unique life purpose. And I think that we're talking about what are healthy ways to be in our center rather than distracting ourselves and doing things that we know aren't great for our well-being. And we discussed that. I mean, we discussed some of that, like in terms of working with the singing bowls. Like Janae and I were just talking not long ago about addiction. Like, it's a really big subject. And one of the colleagues, Dr. Dan Levitin, has also written a new book that's coming out in August. I heard there was a secret chord, music as medicine, with all kinds of, he's really a scientist and neuroscientist and a musician, and I'm a musician but no scientist.
Yes, I know. Yes.
But he's telling so many examples of what sound can do with Parkinson's, what sound can do with Tourette's, any sort of these neurological diseases, how sound is working with addiction. So I think that we have a lot more choices, and that's empowering.
We always say in the coaching world, sometimes we use music to calm you down, get you into a space. I mean, we use it all the time. We always say, you want to organize your room, put on a good song you like, put on an album you like, and like, and we never say you instantly feel it could be the Bee Gees or something. Who knows? Whatever. I'm aging myself, but it's just something out there you put out there, and you feel instantly good. We all know there's certain songs and albums you feel instantly you feel good, and you put them on, and you can handle the day, so to speak, or
Right.
have music on it. If you get your job, if you have it on like low. Is there a station you guys like? Is there a Pandora station you like? My sister was listening to big band music for a while. That was her thing. Like it just made her feel good. The guy
Right.
help her get through the day. I think that's also healthy. I think.
This is a really important point in music as medicine. I was privileged to present in Washington, D.C. last year. And for most of the scientists and medical doctors and researchers, they had not yet heard the crystal bowls. So, and a big advocate of all this is Renee Fleming, the renowned soprano, right? Just how do we use the arts to really help our health and well-being? And it was really interesting to hear all the different people speak and then to present there. But one thing that Dr. Levitin also says all the time is that the music you love, that's your medicine. What you just said, James, like it's not like you have to listen to Mozart or you have to listen to any particular kind of music. What do you love?
Mhm.
Do you love Fly Me to the Moon? Do you love Pharrell's Happy? Like what songs do you really love, and put those on and play them? And talking about, like, if you're going to use music as medicine, for example, in the hospitals, they're using it more and more. I'm working with cancer patients, hospice patients, veterans. Do you choose a song that you love, or do you let the doctor choose it? No, you choose a song that you love, because
Right.
that's the thing that's going to really work your own body chemistry and your own nervous system, not something that someone else picks out for you. As you said at the beginning of our conversation, like, music in a flash can take you back to a certain memory or to a certain thought or feeling, right? So, and we know that best. We know what music touches us better than anybody else.
I do. I mean, I'm telling you, I'll hear the opening strains of something, and I'm like, take it back to to a good part of my childhood somewhere. A memory pops up. You feel warm. Your whole body feels warm. You start kind of smiling, and while the song is on, you feel good. You literally feel good when you are hearing that song. There are a couple of songs from my childhood that when I hear them, I'm taken to a nice spot, a little nice spot in my childhood that I like. Um,
I'm curious, do you yourself have, like, do you have your own morning practice? Like, I'm just curious, how do you integrate music in your daily life?
so for me, I meditate every morning. So I started meditation 4 years ago during the pandemic because I didn't want to go crazy. because I was stuck at home the first year. As you know, LA locked down. I mean, there was nothing going on. It was my birthday, and I was like, I had to stay by myself, and I was going crazy. It was the whole thing. So I said, I'm gonna start meditating. So I meditate for an hour every day. I don't turn on the phone. I don't go. I don't do none of that stuff. And I sit, and sometimes I play music, sometimes I don't. So the music does come up sometimes. Depends on the morning. I don't. I never plan it. I never set it up. As I wake up, do I want music this time? The music whatever I want to hear does come out of me that morning. I'll put it on softly, close my eyes, my breathing work, and then I'm good for an hour. Then I start my day. That's what I do every morning. But sometimes I don't have music sometimes. But music's in my life all the time. I before I turn on TV, I'll turn on my Spotify or I'm always I'm running my next album. So I'm busy working. I know I'm working. I'm trying to get it out. I'm busy working on music, and so I'm listening for sounds. I mean, there are times when it's been really windy here in LA recently, as you know.
Yeah.
I have wind chimes and things over places. I'll hear a melody, the wind chimes from the wind. Like, okay, where's my phone? Record that. I mean, music's just part of my life 24/7. I mean, I'm a writer, music just always. I'll grab out the keyboard all of a sudden, or I have an app on here too that I'll start programming stuff. So music's part of my life every single day, all the time, more than television, more than I read books, more than books. Music is probably my number one thing.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. I mean, I'm with you
Right.
there. A couple of things came into mind too. We are working on two pieces of music that are accompanying the book, Sacred Vibrations, which comes out in July. And
Yes.
one of the albums is finished. Do you know Chris Scholler? Chris is an amazing, amazing composer, a collaborator. But we've created this double album using the pentatonic scale and talk a little bit about what's the magic in that and what does that mean. So, for those of you who are not musicians, in this case, we're talking about the 5 black notes on the piano, but it can be a different combination of any notes. But in this case, we did an album that includes meditations using that. And then because being a classical singer and I lived in Germany for many, many years, sang all over Europe and the Far East. I sang a lot of the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, which many of us know from Sister Act. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. That's that melody. And what we've done is we've infused it with bowls and different guest soloists that I'm very excited about. And it's going to be like a testament to sort of what we're talking about this whole time. How is music the thing that unites us? We don't need to pray to the same God. We don't need to have, X amount of dollars in our bank account. We don't need to speak the same language, but music unites us. And that theme that comes from the Ninth of Beethoven that most of us know here in America as the big song in Sister Act is we've taken that melody and added some twists to it. And the whole idea is that, once again, music weaves a web of safety and it holds us and connects us. So, and I was curious asking you about what you do in the morning, just because I think it's important that everyone knows, because many of us have been shamed into thinking, well, I can't sing, people have been told to just be quiet, just mouth the words or whatever. But I think it's important that we all know, ma, that we all can make a sound and that it's important to use your own voice. So sometimes for me, when I'm sitting in the mornings, and in silence and meditating, then I might come out of that silence and just maybe put a hand on my heart or a hand on my belly, and just and just allow myself to tune myself, allow myself to activate my own vibration. And I think that's a really important thing because everybody can hum. And
I do exercises because I'm a speaker. So I'm
mm,
always, as a host, I do vocal exercises and warm ups sometimes because your voice, it's your instrument. It literally is your instrument. And you have to learn how to stretch it out and get it full bodied. And if I'm talking in a larger space, I gotta make sure I can project, that kind of
right.
stuff. So humming and gay gee guy go all these different things we do. I have all the exercises, girl. I know all of them too. And the widen the mouth and tip of the tongue and the whole. I know the whole thing, right? So I that's something that I agree with. And but anybody who doesn't do this for a living can also do a period just in life. It's these are things you can do, right?
Yeah, sometimes I think about it was unconsciously, but when I'm sitting in the dentist chair and the dentist is coming near, it's like, mm, and I just make sounds just to calm myself down, and we both, we laugh about it now, myself and my dentist, but it's like, that
Yes,
making sound is important.
well, I can still talk to you forever, but I want to see if we can play the bowls a little bit for us before we let you
Sure,
go. You'll have to come back when your book comes out. You have to come back on the show.
sure. Yeah, I'm very proud about just everything that's in the book, and um, yeah, the story of first the singing bowls and what they are and how they can help us and all the things about those. They're becoming more and more a modern instrument that's being integrated in big concert stages and pop concerts. Beautiful instrument. Again, working with cancer patients, hospice patients, veterans. There's so many things to be said about. So I'll just take a listen. So as you were talking about before, when I'm building a set to play, I can put it in different musical keys. I can put it in different tunings, so I can make it 432 hertz, which is a lower tuning. Music today is 440, as you know. I can tune it higher, 528, and I can put different patterns together. But what you said, James, it's going to be always very important to have a bowl, a sound that's very centering. So we want to also have sound be that thing that can help really bring us home, really bring us to our center. So I'll play for a few minutes and just see how you
Yeah,
feel.
please.
It's nice to gently rub your hands together, generating heat. You can place them over your eyes. You can place them at your heart. The sound is still playing. And then gently stretching. Big yawn. Move your body. I love to do like heel strikes, so just putting your heels against the earth, just helping to ground you. And
That was so, I couldn't sat. Oh, I could just go lay down and sat all day long. Oh my God, that was so warm and like I'm like, okay, buddy, good night, everybody. Am I still doing a show? Am I still doing a show? That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. That was beautiful.
yeah,
Oh my God, that was so beautiful.
I really came to understand, like, after my son passed away, I started to play. I had seven bowls, and then I started to play one of them. And it just, I can't explain it to you. Because, as you can imagine, when you're in the throes of grief, you don't know what the heck to do with yourself. You don't know what to do. Nothing's going to change the fact. I just started playing that one bowl. And then my voice opened in such a way. I was in talk therapy for 4 to 6 hours a week, but it wasn't changing the fact. And when I started to play the bowl, it enabled me to just let and out and release like a keening and a groaning that I had not been able to do just in regular talking. That sound of the crystal bowls just held me safe, that it gave me permission to express. And I think that's so important for all of us to have a safe place, under the shower. But in this case, it was just playing that bowl, and then whoa, I was able to express what you can't really put into words, but you can put into sound.
I
So
like
it's a
that.
it's a very special instrument. It's modern. They're 24 years old, and we're looking forward to exploring all the possibilities that sound, and especially these crystalline instruments, can really bring for all of us.
Right. Well, thank you, Miss Jeralyn Glass, for being on my show. You have to come back when your book comes out. You got to come back. You got to come back. You got to come
If
back.
you'll have me, I'll be back. I love
I
speaking
will
with
have
you.
you again. No, seriously, I will have you again. I mean, let's talk about it then too. Name. So, what is the name of the app? Where can they find your stuff?
Okay, so the app is called Source, and it'll be on the iTunes, Apple, and Android. You can get it from the App Shop. The book will be coming out in July. That's already online. You can pre-order it. The Sacred Vibrations, the Transformative Power of Crystal and Sound and Music. Um, what else? Our website is crystalcadence.com or jerylynglass.com. Um,
And I'll put all that.
the
I'll put all that below in the description. That's what you say it out loud to folks. They can hear it also. Not everybody reads, so it's
Yeah.
about speed of sound. I'm gonna make sure you say it out loud. But I think you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're all that stuff, right? You're on all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I think I'm very proud of our YouTube channel, which was built from scratch, but there's a big library, a free library of all kinds of music and meditations for you to enjoy. And there's two 2-hour loops, one with the pentatonic scale, one with the C major scale. So you can use those. They're free to accompany you cooking, cleaning, studying, taking a bath, taking a walk, whatever. They're just super mellow, yeah, beautiful Crystal Alchemy meditations. So on the YouTube channel Crystal Cadence, you'll find a big free library, which is what me and my son wanted to do, is just to have that available for people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good, very good, kids. I'm gonna make sure I follow everything. I haven't followed everything. I'll make sure you'll see my name pop up on stuff now. I'm James Lott Jr. This is a lot of help with James Lott Jr. We're on Facebook, a lot of help.com, two T's for lots, help.com, where we explore all kinds of subjects of health and wellness. That's mental and physical health. This subject, music, it's for everything. It's for all healths out there. Any health of any kind, it is. And again, below the description, I'll have her information. So you can go check her and her colleagues out over there. I'm James Lott Jr. We'll talk to you next time.